Hey, what's up? It's Elena with Diverse Roots. That's Roots with a Z. Just wanted to do a quick video today. It is November? November 20th,
Yeah.
2022. We are here in North Texas, Zone 8A. And we're just out here doing some typical garden chores while the weather is in the high 40s, low 50s. And I figured, why not do a quick video? It's that time of the year here in North Texas, Zone 8A, and pretty much everywhere else, especially those north of us, where you're not really sure what you can be doing outside. You run out of daylight much faster now. It's kind of doom and gloom weather out. Not doom. I don't want to be so dramatic, but it's a little gloomy out. You know, we're transitioning into the rest months. The months of like winter solstice and where things go into hibernate and hunker down. I guess they both work for the winter time. Same kind of goes for us, where there's not a whole lot that you can be doing outside in the sense of growing things. But now is the time, it's really the perfect time to start prepping for the following year. So here in North Texas, what we're doing a lot of is we're planting a lot of perennials. And those are things like our strawberries, our fruit trees, just regular trees, our shrubbery, anything that's kind of like a perennial, that meaning that'll come back year after year. We do it this time of year because it's really, really hot come spring and summer here in Texas. And this just gives the plants a little bit of time to establish their roots and to get comfortable, or as my 5-year-old likes to say, comfy, in their surroundings before the full stretch of the summer kicks in here in the south. So what we're doing today, I was doing this earlier, so it's already got some, zoom in, it's already got a bunch of stuff in it, but I'm doing a yard cleanup. So we have a lot of pots like these of stuff that we didn't really want. We maybe salvaged from dumpsters, and it just didn't pan out for us. Or I did research on, and I found that they're not friendly to our particular ecosystem, meaning they're toxic to cats, dogs, or even people. If like brushed up against, it can cause like skin irritation or anything like that. Anything like that. Well, we're not super limited on growing space because we do have about 3 acres here. I really am not. My calling is growing things that we can eat or that can benefit the wildlife. That's really my jam. Food foresting is really what I'm most interested in. So instead of using up a spot that would get good growth on, say, a decorative perennial, which does really well down here, we can't eat it. It's toxic. Not only can we not eat it, these plants like lantana, but they're toxic to animals, dogs, cats, and they can create like a skin irritation when handled. Certain people. So, and chances are somebody in my family would be irritated by it. So there's no point, no matter how pretty it is. We have so many pretty edibles that we can be growing that are safe for both people and animals. There's no point to it. So all that to say, when I have a bunch of these, and like literally show that stack, all of these stacks, all of these pots, and then all of these on this side, we're full of little plants. And all we've been doing, oh my goodness, I did it again. All we've been doing is taking out the tags and dumping them. And what this allows is essentially composting in place. Just break it up, chop it up. I had our 10-year-old Isaac. He was in here stomping all of the big branches down because like we have tomato plants, sunflower stalks, all kinds of stuff, squash plants, all in here. And once this gets full, I'll probably wait till it gets to about right here of plant material, and then I'll top dress it with some of our current compost, and then after that I'll go ahead, after I top dress it with some of our current compost, I'm going to go ahead and completely smother it with some straw, and we're going to pack it in real nice, give it a thorough soaking, set it up on some blocks because the ants will inhibit anything on the ground. We're going to have to go through, and all the ones that are on the ground we're going to have to raise up and hopefully get the ants out over the cold winter months so they stay out. But this is just a perfect way, one of the many ways you can compost. this time of year. And this is kind of like a set it and forget it. So if you're kind of like a lazy gardener, sometimes, a lot of times, like I find that we are, it's really good on a day where you have some free time or bursts of energy to get out and get all the dead, like that's sweet potato vine we have over there that's all dead. We're going to probably pull a lot of that up and throw it in here. Some of those are probably going to resprout and grow, but this is perfect because this is really a set it and forget it type composting in place. I'm going to throw all of the continued yard waste out of the pots and stuff that I showed you, and then we're going to soak it or cover it with the straw and soak it, and then we're just going to let it sit there all season long because it's only November now, so come April, May, this is going to be gold right here. So what we have here is just a big old recycled tree pot, 30-gallon size, and this is just a really easy way to start your compost for next season. When most things in the garden might be dying down, there's not a whole lot of harvesting to do or planting or anything like that because we're at the end of November now here and it's starting to get pretty cold. But we use this opportunity to like start clearing out the garden and get our composting in place going. So if you look in here, I've already got it started, and you'll see just a lot of, there's multiple layers to this. So there's soil at the way bottom, and then there's a bunch of layers, and then there's a little bit more soil. And you'll see here, like old squash plants, canna foliage, asparagus that died. We even have some really thick, fibrous sunflower roots in here. And earlier you saw me clearing up our sweet potato vine, some of our sweet potato vine. And typically what I do with this, I'll cut it down into much smaller pieces. And what this allows, I mean, it doesn't have to be like exact, but what this allows is just for it to, you know, break down easier and be a little bit more uniform and not have such large pieces to have to work through. But again, I mean, there's nothing, you can be really lazy and really sloppy with this. You really don't even have to break it down. So you just give it a good little tamp and it flattens it. And what you also saw was us getting some garden waste. There's already a lot in here, but things like tomato, green leaves, cucumbers that I missed and that froze with the freeze we just had. And that's that, right? So it's a really simple way when you're cleaning your garden anyways to utilize the scraps that you have and turn them into something for next spring. Now this is going to sit over winter completely and it'll do its magic. It'll break down and all that good stuff. But I mean, you're using the stuff right from your garden. You're putting all the nutrition right in here. And I'm going to show you, I already showed you what we just did. Now the next steps would be, well, initially, you're going to want to put it on something, or we put it on something here in the south. Oh, wait a minute. This is runner grass. We don't want that because this is not a nursery. Oh, it was from the...
That's what we call the devil's weed.
Yeah. This is like, I don't want to sound so dramatic because I know everything has a purpose, but I would be lying. And I mean, those of you who are already subscribed to our channel and have seen my previous videos, I talk about this quite frequently. This grass will put me into tears. Oh, I got squashed tomato on my hand. Because it just takes over in our garden here, and it competes for nutrients with our plants, and it can really stunt them. On top of it's just like a harbor for fugitives, things like chiggers, squash bugs, chiggers, fire ants, and chiggers. All the no buenos that we could do without. Goodness gracious, how did I get so much in here? So this is something for us here, or anywhere where you have runner grass, you definitely don't want to include runner grass in your composting place, because all you're going to do is breed more runner grass. All right, I think I got most of it. So really, it's just about layering whatever scraps you have, whatever decomposing material you have in your garden. And this is what I didn't, right here. These things right here. These are plants that that either, what'd you say?
Froze.
Oh, yeah. These are plants that either froze or we decided we don't really want to grow them in our garden. But we're not like super limited on space. We're very much in like the food forest type vibe. Like that's kind of like where we reside. I don't really like growing anything if it's not super beneficial for like the entire ecosystem of our diversity that we have going on. So what I mean by that is typically no thorns close to the house. If we have thorns, it's further in the back. I don't like plants that on the property that are toxic to dogs or cats, and especially people. Some of these plants, like the celosia, just froze and it's just past its, we were in no shortage of celosia this year, but we retrieve a lot of these plants, we salvage them, so they're free anyways. And what we end up doing for the ones that we're not keeping, we use them in situations like these. So that is primarily, we still got tags in them. This is kind of like primarily what this bottom is made of after the first layer of soil, is a bunch of plants like this. And this is just like a great base. Oh, one thing we're not growing, lantana, because it is toxic to dogs, cats, and it can cause skin irritations. This is a poor little tomato. Forgot about him. And there's just no need, like if it's not beneficial, I just personally don't want to exert the amount of energy that is required to keep things alive and maintained on the property, even if it is a beautiful perennial. I got trash over there. And some of you might be saying, oh, what about the butterflies? Well, we definitely take the butterflies and hummingbirds into consideration. And what was that? I don't know. Lantana probably. We take all that into consideration when we plant our edible landscape. Pretty much everything that we plant is pollinator friendly for the hummingbirds, for the butterflies, and especially the bees. So, you know, we're not in any, we're gonna have to stack those. We're not in any shortage of, I feel like I'm being really sloppy over here because usually I take the time to stack the thing. Oh my gosh, I'm just throwing stuff.
Promise we're not littering.
We're gonna have to, we might have to pause for a minute because that's kind of, pause for a second. Just kind of. Okay, so it looks all crazy right now, and that's probably more than I should have put. Usually I'll put a few and then I'll break them up. We're gonna speed this part up here. Okay, so nicely close up, broken down, looks a lot better. That's a lot of soil. Just one of our ways that we can do our part to help recycle things that are otherwise bound for the landfill. A lot of these things that we retrieve, we know we're probably not going to grow or keep for very long or enjoy for very long. But we know for purposes like this, they can provide and still give back into the earth and serve us better than ending up into the landfill. And anyway, that's something that I really appreciate about my kids, that they've picked up, and they can appreciate and respect the need for recycling. But I'm gonna get off my soapbox now and get to the next step. So with this, the next step would be adding, we already have like finished compost and microbial life down at the bottom, right? But here is, this is pretty wet because this doesn't have holes in the bottom. But I'm gonna add this in here. And that just kind of helps give it a jump start as well. So now I have some on the bottom. I have some of this on the bottom. I have some about halfway through, kind of like a lasagna effect. And probably not the best place for this because it's in the shade. Didn't think that one through. So we're probably going to end up moving this over there so it's at least in the sun and can get as much sun as possible to help warm it over the winter. But for right now, this is where it's going to be. So I got a little bit of natural soil and compost in there. The next step, and I know I just said we're going to move it, but I got a couple of really strong kids that can help me out. And when all else fails, my husband and Elias can do it, which is my camera guy right now. We're going to give it a good watering. Could I have gotten the hose? Sure. This is rainwater though, we collect. And I really don't want to fiddle with the hose right now. Now, here in North Texas, Dallas-Fort Worth area, we have to elevate our pots. Otherwise, they become infiltrated with fire ants. And that makes it absolutely no bueno to work with, to get your hands in, to not realize they've taken over a bed when you're going to do anything to the soil. We've all found that out. We all agree it's best to raise them. So in our other videos, you've probably seen the buckets raised up, and the ones that aren't have been taken over. That's okay. That's a project we're, like that one.
Didn't you show an example clip of that?
Well, we got the clip from yesterday, or you can get a new clip today. Let's see if we can agitate them. Don't try this at home, guys. These are Texas ants. Fire ants. They come for the jugular here. Oh my gosh. I don't know if you can see that. No business in my garden. Taking over my pots. This was soil for me, not for you. I'm gonna have to contend with that. It's because it's on the ground. That's the mistake. You see these? You see these? You're probably wondering why. Well, you don't have to wonder anymore because that's why. When they're on the ground, that happens every single time. This was my mistake, ants. Touche. You caught me slipping. As you can see from that clip we just clipped in there. So while the benefit is that we don't get ants in it, of course, with every plus comes a minus. It prevents the natural beneficial bugs, particularly not bugs, but worms, beneficial life to get into the soil and to do its thing. That's unfortunately just a compromise that we've had to weigh the pros and the cons with, and it just works for us. So if you live in a place where there are fire ants, this is a crucial step, especially for those of you who might be gardening for the first time. Learn from our mistakes and years of doing this and elevate your pots. And this isn't just for your lazy composting in place, because it is going to start to be so warm and it's going to be up out of the elements. If it's on the ground, the ants are going to naturally gravitate to it because it's going to keep them dry. And it's going to be a nice, warm, cozy place for them to do their antness. So worst case scenario, we'll buy some worms and throw them in here, or as we find them around the garden, we'll put them in here, and they'll live happily in here. So the next step after this, well, this isn't all the way full. It's fine for now because we still do have to move it. The last and final step is this right here. Just some straw. And we want to cover it really good. Ta-da! That's it. Now, because it is winter, it is going to take a significantly longer time, particularly because it's also just composting in place. We're not going to be turning this bed. We're not going to be like, flipping it into a new pile. Ooh, this. So now remember, this is a lazy man or woman's composting in place kind of situation. So this isn't something that you're going to do and then in a few weeks' time you're going to have soil that you can use. This is something that is good to do, particularly when you're prepared and thinking in advance, this time of year being November, end of November, about to be December. When there's not like a whole lot to do in the garden and you have time to wait before you actually need to use good composted down soil. So it's going to compost in place, and the only thing that we might do to it besides watering it, we will probably water it once a month if we don't get any rain, so it doesn't like dry out completely. But the only thing we might do is come out here, lift it up, dig a hole into the middle, and add food scraps or any other debris we have from the garden, just to essentially add fuel to the fire. Oh, thank you, baby.
They got us in.
You trying to dox us?
You went to the mailbox?
I'm trying to dox us. She telling us. Let's look into this.
Put it on my desk, please. Thank you. Stop, please. Okay. So, again, this is a really slow, lazy way to go about it. Composting in place. But when you're out in the garden anyway doing garden cleanup and you have a couple months to spare, this is my go-to method. Now, you might be thinking, okay, but that was a lot of stuff. What does it look like? This is what it ends up looking like. Now, you'll see some roots and stuff in here because this isn't as like old as a few months, but typically I keep buckets all around the property and kind of do the same thing. So this is minus the roots, which are organic matter and break down anyway. This is really good stuff. And this you can plant directly in. This is perfect for, starts, seedlings. I even do soil or direct seed sowing in this. And we have a bunch of pots, like I said, all over the property, which we're definitely working on getting more organized this season. But yes, so if you're like me and you're looking for something to do in November, when it's maybe a little bit too cold to spend too much time out, but you got a lot of stuff collected from the garden, this is look, this is a root. Hasn't broke down yet. Oh, sorry. But it will break down. And actually, because that's more fibrous, I'm going to go ahead and put it in here now that I got this big one started. And I know when I'm ready to use that, it will definitely be ready to go. And like I said, you don't have to do a full-on turn, but when you come and water it, you can take the straw off if you want. Depending on what your climate has been like, you'll definitely want to check on it to make sure it's breaking down. If you're like in really cold zones, I can't attest to this working for you, but I would definitely keep an eye on your soil. Check on it when you water it. Dig your hand in there, make sure it's nice and warm, make sure things are breaking down, make sure you see, life in there doing its job. Other critters will get in there, except the worms. The worms won't be able to get up in there, but other critters will find it and make a nice home out of it. Thank you so much for stopping by and hanging out with us today while we did this lazy method of composting in place. If you found any value in it, please feel free to give us a like and subscribe and follow along. And if you have any suggestions or different ways that you might have composted, this is just one way to compost. This is just one of the many ways that you can compost food or recycle your food or, organic matter. So this is how we're doing it this time. This is really one of our go-to methods because we have a major fire ant problem. So this is just really easy to get good soil. And we were fortunate enough to source a lot of these big black and purple tubs. Yeah, that's our whole garden tub row. They're either mineral tubs or from nurseries that let us, instead of throwing them away, they let us
Dumpster dive?
They let us have them. So we get permission though. We do get permission first. So thank you so much, and remember,
Little by little by little equals a lot.
Little by little equals a lot. Come back and see us. No. We'll see you next time. Get out of here. Get out of here.
Get out of here.
Get out of here. All right. I think that was good. Hopefully I didn't miss